For the subwoofer, we're gonna be going with this guy right here. This is one of Fernando's favorites. This is the Rockford P300 8-inch amplified subwoofer. Over here on the side, it has the amplifier, and it also has the port. This thing puts out a tremendous amount of bass like all the P300 styles do. The nice thing is though, it is very compact. As you can see, this is only 4 7/8 of an inch deep by 17 3/4. Height is 11.5. We needed this to go in a very specific place. He wants to keep his toolbox in the back of his car, and oddly enough, this fit perfect in there and is low enough the seat doesn't even come close to it. Even though this is taking up a portion of the room, he'll still have the whole other half to put other tools and stuff like that in. We do have to leave the top off, of course, but hey, it's what it is. The nice thing is he'll be able to remove this out of the box, take the box out if he needs to, take this out if he needs more space. The other nice thing about this is all these plugs are designed to come out, and we make a really nice harness with braided loom that allows this to be removable. It also has a bass knob, this guy right here. This bass knob is kind of big, and it can be mounted up underneath the dash. It comes with a piece. A lot of times that's where it ends up going. However, if you do want to make a custom mount on this, you could squeeze this. This will pop apart. You will need the screw for this because it doesn't come with it, and it is this wide, so there is some sanding that you can do to the circuit board. We don't know where we're going to mount it yet. If we do all that, I'll show you. Otherwise, it's just going to get mounted up underneath the dash. And then in this parts bag, it does come with some Velcro to attach it down. The bass knob wire, it's just a really long 3-pin aux cable. It comes with an Allen key, 2 extra fuses, and this guy right here, which is your high level or low level plug, has a set of RCAs on it, or you can cut it and connect it via high level. What we like to do on this is, even though you can just plug a set of RCAs into here, we're not going to. We're going to cut this off and solder our own wiring onto this, and we will solder RCAs onto it behind the radio. That way we can make them as long as we want, and also we don't have this big bulky connector right here, which is totally not necessary. Last is the power plug, and with these 3 plugs plugged into it, they can come out, so you can make this removable, serviceable, whatever you need it to be. The one nice thing about this enclosure is all the enclosures use the exact same harness with the exact same style of amplifier. What that means is that if you put this in and he decides he wants more bass, we can easily swap it out for a bigger sub. However, he will have to lose his tray. However, that's something else to think about down the road. Power wire, we like to use an 8-gauge, both power and ground. For wiring up the P300, we have a whole process for doing it. We do a lot of them. First off is get the run of power wire that you need. In this case, probably about 15 feet is about what we're going to be using. Put an 8-gauge ferrule on it, and I put about 5 or 6 inches of red heat shrink over the end of it. I repeat the process on the ground wire. In this case, we have about 5 feet of ground wire. And I repeat the process on the remote turn-on wire. We always run a remote turn-on wire with our P300, whether it's going high level or low level. One of the cool things the remote turn-on, it has 3 choices. It has DC offset, audio sense, as well as 12 volt. I need 2 short pieces of 1/8 inch braided loom. Get about a 12-inch piece, cut it in half. One of those goes over the end of the bass knob, just like that. And then you need about 1.5 inch 3/8 heat shrink. Cut off the RCA ends. My other piece of 1/8 inch is going to go over wire I'm running to the front. 1/4 inch piece of heat shrink, put it over my wire so it's like that. I'm going to solder these 2 wires together. With that soldered up, slide the loom over and under this piece of heat shrink. And there again, the heat shrink is only there to finish the end. Leave a little bit exposed, shrink it up. I put tape over my loose end here just to finish it off, because the next step it is going to be helpful on, and that is the big sleeve that makes it all one big bundle. Typically I'll make this about 2 inches, 3 inches shorter than what my ground wire is, minus this lead. Typically from here till about that much off of the end is what this loom is going to be. With all the ends in your hand, I like to start with my aux, then my little 4-pin, and then that follows up with the power wires. And if I do this right, I don't need to tape them all together. They'll just move as that solid bundle all the way through this braided loom. This is 3/4 of an inch braided loom. And when I get to the end, kind of work them out gently so they come out of the hole. Put the loom down a little bit. Next, take a big 1-inch piece of shrink wrap. Same thing, aux, then the 4, then your power wire goes through. Once that's done, grab the power plug and attach that to our wiring. Bring back the subwoofer enclosure and plug everything in. At this point, what you need to do is kind of work the wiring and your braided loom until you get the right amount of bend. To do that, you just balloon up the braided loom until you get it where you want it and the wires are tight or loose. This is why having tape on the end of these makes them easier to slide in and out through this. Once you have it exactly where you want it, heat up your shrink wrap. This is gonna sit just like this in the car and make it easy to take in and out. Spread back out your braided loom. It doesn't have to be super tight. A little bit of looseness is pretty good. You want it to be flexible. Once you get that done, come to your end point here, and just like you did for the thin stuff, put some tape on there just to basically finish it off and tie it into place. At this point, I'll be separating out the ground, and I still have these wires. So for the run from where this ends, which is right about where the C-pillar starts all the way up to the kick panel, I'm gonna cover this in 1/2 inch braided loom, and then at that point I'll stop, I'll pull out the remote turn on, the bass knob, and the speaker wire, and the rest will get covered in an even smaller loom to go out underneath the hood. That's the process for building this. Let's get this into the car and I'll show you how we're gonna run the wiring. The tray for the subwoofer is located right here. You can see these ridges. It's this guy right here, and this is where the subwoofer is gonna go. Our wiring needs to come to about here, and then it's gonna run and loop across, and then it'll enter into the car for the floor sill to come right up and along here. And this truck, it has these little pop-up areas that come up so that we can tuck our wiring into it, and then the rest of the wiring is going to come behind this C-pillar here. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can get to this area by pulling up the carpet, tucking it in underneath it. Other times you do need to remove this seat belt and remove the whole C-pillar. We'll see how this one fares out. There's a channel up under here that we can fish the wire through. Here's the rest of that. It'll come through these and then into the kick, and then the bass knob will probably go somewhere in this area, and the rest of the wire will go out to underneath the hood. Let's take a look at that wiring ran in the back. Ground is in place, wire is ran. What we ended up doing is right here where the seat belts are, bring our wire out. It gets run underneath the carpet, brought into place. This comes back up, locks down, remove the B-pillar, zip tied the wire up into place, and then it got tucked into the factory. It now is just waiting for its final road home, which is going to be into the engine bay, probably into one of these two knockouts, and of course up into the dash. We could still use this full area here, has the tool tray, but our subwoofer is going to sit right here. As we saw, this is removable. The sub box is removable. Everything about this is removable, so he can do whatever he would like with it. And the seat closes, plenty of room for the subwoofer to breathe.